What'd you say?
These people who can't understand basic arguments think they've disproven God. It's like, how arrogant.
That's how I feel about you guys in evolution.
Yeah, it really is interesting how so many of these internet atheists are so dogmatically dedicated to proving their points and supposedly going down the rabbit holes to substantiate those. And in fairness to Grayson, on a much greater level than the average, he does attempt to scientifically substantiate his positions, and I give him massive amounts of credit for that. No offense what's about it. Right. Unlike a huge portion of them. But it really is interesting how so many atheists, it's like, you don't even understand the foundational components of the point that you're dogmatically arguing and claiming that I'm the one that doesn't understand it, when I can tell beyond all doubt that you don't understand a word that's coming out of your own mouth. It really, it blows my mind on a daily basis.
Hey, Grayson, when you listen to someone talk and then you have this picture in their head when you haven't seen them, right? You kind of just imagine what they might look like.
Yeah.
And usually the person never looks like what you think.
Yeah.
Right. For you, man, you looked exactly like I thought. It was kind of funny.
What's funny is that Donnie said the same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll get into some of these genetic arguments, because I really think genetics is probably, the strongest line of evidence for evolution being, factual. I think you can easily just look at people's genomes today, and you can kind of, see that it's the case.
Staying for Truth says, Grayson did straight up look like exactly the way I thought he'd look.
That's so funny I brought that up. Yeah. Grayson, I wish I was more equipped in that area, man, to go toe-to-toe with you.
You wish you were what?
I wish I was more equipped in that area.
Oh,
so I could go toe-to-toe with you. I don't know anything about that.
Well, that's all right. I mean, I'm down to talk about whatever here. I mean, broadly, I'm on the pro-evolution atheist side of things. So I felt, if you guys are going to be talking, it's good to have a balanced approach.
Well, I would like to be on a lot of that stuff, like radiometric dating and stuff. It's like, if the starting assumptions are true, then you're always, or not the starting, if they're not true, if you're using the same starting assumptions, then something can seem to be true, and the ratios would match up correctly if the foundational assumption is true.
So what I would say to that,
but if it's not true, then there's all sorts of different ways that can be the masking meter, and same thing with I've heard so many people go on this whole diatribe about the oh well, this layer always does X, right? And it's like, and the math always lines up when on this, and it's like, well, yes, if you're using the starting assumption, then yes, it's always, oh, these layers are always equal this. It's like, yeah, no shit, of course it would.
Okay,
if you change it would be something different. But anyway, I'm not interested in going into a debate about that. I'm too tired for that debate. I was just making a point. Go ahead.
Have you ever heard of isochron dating?
Yes, I have. Like I said, I'm not gonna go down the dating.
Okay, well, you made a point about it, so I just just to address it. But if you don't want me to, but there are, each method has its own starting assumptions, and the methods all overlap each other and corroborate each other. So it's
but they all share the same assumption.
No, the assumptions are different for every method, because the reasons for the formation of uranium isotopes is different from the formation of carbon isotopes, or each element has its own different starting assumptions that are independent of each other. So the fact that the different methods corroborate each other lines in its favor.
Grayson, we're both too tired for this one today, but I do have a question for you though. What's with this helium Is it helium? Helium in the granite that some of the creationists make a point about?
Are you talking about like polonium halos?
I don't know. I was hoping you knew.
Yeah, I mean, not my forte. I've seen, you know, I wouldn't be able to comment on that with authority, actually.
The fact that there's still helium, though, since we know how much helium dissipates out of, say, granite, and then the fact that there's still helium concentrates of it in there. I thought that argument was interesting, but I haven't really focused on that stuff like I should. So you're still an atheist, right, Grayson?
Yep.
You been
We'll
reading
see.
your Bible at all yet?
Not really.
Afraid of Jesus yet?
No. I went to Christian summer camp in like 5th grade or something. That was my first introduction, but I don't remember if I prayed in 5th grade or not.
Grayson, there's one thing I've never heard an evolutionist given an explanation for. What about the what are they called? The petrified trees that go through multiple layers that you can see in some pictures.
Yeah.
Can you
So
explain to me how you deal with that?
yeah, so those trees are typically found in like bogs or coasts or marshlands, places that are prone to a lot of sedimentation, especially during like flooding events. So usually the kinds of layers that you find, these upright fossils, that's the term for them, but a lot of creationists will say polystrate fossils. The conditions that you find these upright fossils are always in the same kinds of layers. It's always like the kind we find in these areas. We never really see them in any other kinds of environments or through any other layers. Like you never see igneous layers or metamorphic layers or any of that. It's all layers that seem to be relatively near to each other in age. So that built up over the span of, you know, just a few years. And so the instances that I would point to support that are that you can find petrified tree upright fossils that have intact root systems, which would only occur if it was a very kind of gentle, like burial process. It wouldn't happen if it was some sort of like massive, violent flood. And then also the key killer is that a few of these show evidence that like the tree continued to grow after it started to be buried. So it's called like secondary growth patterns, which would never happen if it was completely submerged with water, only partially submerged. So you'll never find a test where like these layers are dated to be like millions of years different. They're all relatively near to each other in age. There's not a huge millions of years difference.
Okay, but whether it's millions or hundreds of thousands, you actually think that if there's 100,000 years, just for easy math, between the layers, that it actually grew into the next one?
No, what I said, like, 2, 5, maybe 10 years is what we're talking about. We're not talking about 100,000.
Okay, so some layers take millions of years to form, and others can do it really quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So
think about a volcanic layer.
I'm not questioning whether or not layers can form quickly. I'm saying that one of the categorically fundamental rejections of the argument that Kent makes all the time about the horizontal layer formation and happening quickly is that, well, we know it takes a long time for all these different types of layers to form. Therefore, your position is 100% false and couldn't possibly be true. And all I'm saying is that, so we have for things such as polystrate trees, they can totally could have formed really, super quickly. But all the other types definitely could not have.
Show me an upright fossil in a layer that doesn't take very quickly to form, like limestone. You won't find it because yes, some layers you can form rapidly depending on what kind of layer they are, what kind of sedimentary layer, or igneous layer. But other layers, like different kinds of rocks, like do not form rapidly and take much longer, and you'll never find an upright fossil in those kinds of layers.
Okay, but we are accepting that there could be not just igneous layers, there are other types of sedimentary layers that could form quickly. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's how upright fossils are formed.
Okay, cool. But we're establishing that beyond doubt that sedimentary layers of a variety of types, can form quickly.
Yes, a variety of types can.
Uh,
Not all, but a lot.
Okay, and we know beyond doubt that the other ones definitely could not have.
Yes.
How?
You can look at we have an exact numerical upper limit on the growth of limestone.
Not based on. Okay, who was it that gave the whole lecture on the whole limestone thing and has completely obliterated the whole formation of limestone? It was the Australian guy. He goes into the whole deal about the cliffs of Dover and did like comparison between things that we've seen form quickly versus rapidly when it comes to limestone. I'm trying to remember who did that lecture.
Are you talking about George Bond?
No. It wasn't George. It was a PhD.
Is he the big sand dune guy?
I can't remember. It was a while back. If SFT was around, he would. Okay, George is on the side. He said it was John
Well,
McKay.
great. So I don't even know anything about
saying that
limestone. Can someone tell me how limestone's formed or what it's made of? I'll play the dumb one.
It's formed when carbonate crashes out of precipitation in salt water. So it's like precipitated in salt water from like organic activities, and it precipitates out and forms limestone. It's like a chemical process, and we know, like, based on physics, how fast it can occur, and what like the fastest it could form in. And we know that the things that slow it down are when the water is too choppy and violent, or if it's hot, or like it's got to be kind of gentle water, ideal temperature conditions, and that's what you get the fastest rate of. And it's still like, inches or centimeters a year. It's not fast.
LPP, what is the creationist view on how limestone's formed?
That's what I was referring to. That's literally why I brought up John.
Gotcha,
I think it was John McKay,
okay.
and when it I don't remember all the stuff that you talked about, so I'm not getting into it. But I remember this being discussed in detail about the standard talking point that comes out of people like Grayson about limestone, and he went into great detail about the whole deal. I forget what he said now, but this was like a year. It was like a year and a half ago or probably a year ago now. When
I'll have to look into that because I always thought limestone was contributed by some sort of life form, right? So
yeah, you can have limestone formation without like having life on Earth. It's just since multicellular life have been producing carbonates, it's kind of taken over as the main driver. But one thing, if you're going to read about it, is I would say be careful of whether or not they're talking about hard limestone or soft limestone, because like there are differences between the two in like their formation and how fast they can form and all that.
Okay, so let me ask you this, Grayson. If there was a tree that was found through different levels or different layers of sedimentary rock, would that be evidence to you, or would it not be?
Evidence of what?
Well, like what would convince you that? Okay, how about this? I'm just gonna go this far. If there's a tree that you found through different layers of limestone, would that disprove evolution to you?
It would certainly make me question a lot about how that
Okay.
was formed, or like if there was a tree that went through two layers that could be radiometrically dated, and they came back as millions of years difference. That would be really hard to explain. That would be a genuine. I have no, explanation for that.
So if we could, if there was a tree that went through multiple layers, and these layers were radiometrically dated different, or like, I don't know, that would be evidence. I mean, it
That
would
would be
challenge
evidence
you.
against my
Date
position.
sedimentary layers.
Okay. What's that?
I said you don't typically radiometrically date sedimentary layers.
Right,
Yeah.
because you can only carbon date those, right, or something.
No, not even that. You
Okay.
don't carbon date rocks to begin with.
Right, you need
That's
organic
not
material, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
you
Okay.
radiometrically date igneous layers typically,
Correct.
but
yeah.
you can sometimes extract a date out of coal, and some of these upright fossils are formed like you do see between two coal seams. So
Yep.
if those are able to be dated, the prediction would be that they would be very similar dates. But nobody's ever been able to show an upright tree fossil like between two layers that are radically different ages. Or like would date using radiometric dating different ages.
I mean, it would be surprising if you found a polystrate fossil between multiple layers of radically different sediment type, but I don't see how that couldn't happen in some cases. I know there are specific things we would expect from a global flood, for example, that we just don't see in the geologic record.
Well, here, this is, geology. I haven't studied it since college, and
Sure.
I'll tell you, I didn't work that hard to get my B+, so I don't remember anything hardly. But when I look at some of these giant trees that are turned to stone, basically, through these giant layers, and these layers to me are just flat for large amounts of area. Like it looks to me, just the simple explanation is a huge deep flood. That's the obvious. It's just the way it looks, Grayson.
Well, yeah, that
I
would
don't think
be
a
my
bog would
explanation.
explain it. A bog, we'll see. It looks like a huge flood, dude.
Well, you
This
realize
doesn't
that
look like a
bogs
bog.
occupy large amounts of area and have the same soil type throughout the bog, but then also
Okay.
bogs are prone to flooding.
Sure, but
and
how did
I
it get
am
pushed
saying
up?
that this is probably like these are the results of like floods. Like that's
Okay.
how you get these upright tree fossils largely.
Let's assume that you're right, okay? How did these, I mean, these are on cliffs basically too. So they're kind of like a mountain. How did they not get like, assuming long periods of time and plates are getting pushed around, how come these things weren't bent and twisted, over time?
I'm a little bit confused by what you're asking. These things are not on like cliffs or mountains. I mean,
Okay.
Are you just talking about plate tectonics and how like they move but the layers stay straight?
Well, I guess you and I would have to go look at one of these giant trees and in the mud, or I guess in these rocks.
If
But
I can steel man your
yeah.
question, are you kind of asking if why don't we find these tree fossils in like metamorphosed layers, for example, or
You're
layers
gonna
that are
have to
like
tell me.
bent or faulted?
Is that what that means?
Or
Metamorphic or
what?
whatever means bent.
No,
Not
metamorphic.
necessarily. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different kind of layer. So no, I don't think that that's what he's asking. But
Okay.
We see the
Hey, quick time out. So I was over reading about full fossils inside of limestone is what I was reading about. So I wasn't even paying attention. So if you want to come back, buddy, come on back. The button will be clicked. Just don't turn into a little whiner. All right, go ahead, guys.
Grayson, I'll just have to look into it because I don't know. It just, when I looked at some of these, it just looks like it had to be a giant flood. So far, I'm coming to understand that your argument is, yeah, it was a giant flood, but it's called a bog. So I don't think we're going to go anywhere. Maybe we'll change the subject.
Well,
Last thing that I would say is like, yes, like local flood would be an explanation, but what I would say is that you can find evidence that it rained on every single area on Earth, but that's not evidence that it was raining on the entire Earth at the same time. And that's the analogy for like these local floods and how they're not evidence of a global flood.
that's a pretty good one. Yeah. I would also add that we know what giant kind of statewide floods or larger produce. If you want to look more into it, you can look up something called the Channel Scablands, and that actually has some good geological features characteristic of these kind of giant floods. So the question I would pose if someone were to bring that up would be, why don't we see that across the entire geological record, those exact same features?
Hey Ari, you're a atheist too, then?
I've been called an atheist. I've also been called an atheist. So I guess
That's
whatever
another
you want
word
to
I'm going to need
label me.
help with.
I guess you could say I don't care enough to take one position or the other. Or like I said, you can call me a number of different things: agnostic, atheist, whatever.
Somebody in the chat also asking about what a Gnostic atheist versus an agnostic atheist is. I think that's kind of relevant.
It's just playing word games. So let me ask you a question, Ari. Is that okay? Is it R or ARE? What would you like to be called?
Oh, it just stands for something else. So you can call me however you like.
Well, that's really
His name is
apathetic. Andrew.
So,
Isn't this like the most important topic you can imagine, though? Finding out where we came from.
Well, yeah,
Where you might be going. Yeah.
That's what I look into in other areas, just not this one in particular. This particular question, I should say.
So, Andrew and Grayson, I would assume that both of you operate from the perspective that there is nothing beyond this level of existence.
I would say so.
I have no idea what you mean by that. I mean, I kind of can see like
Grayson,
wait,
honestly,
let me
bro,
answer.
hang on. Before you do, dude, please, I respect your intelligence. Please don't be the standard YouTube atheist.
No, let me answer.
And play dumb. Just don't dance around questions. It's a very straightforward
let
yes
me
or
answer.
no.
You'll explain everything.
I'm just giving you a preface to all this. I'm gonna let you respond, but just please, for the love of basic IQ points, don't be the usual dumbass to direct questions. Okay, good.
Yeah, just say yes, Grayson.
I'm saying that I do like the theory that this is a quantum mechanical hologram, in which case that could be considered as something beyond this, but in a purely like, quantum mechanical information, like on a two-dimensional shell kind of idea. It's kind of like a complicated mathematical physics. So I don't know how you would answer that. That's why I didn't know how to respond.
Hey, LPP, it's so funny to me, too. I've run into this. How atheists, they're okay with us being in a simulation, as if some AI just made the most amazing computer and we're all just a projection of it. But then the idea of God, oh no, that's offensive. It is just mind-boggling.
Well, we do have physics for hologram theory.
Here we go. This is an example, LPP.
Well, yeah,
Grayson, as smart as he is, he won't read the Bible and discover the truth, but he'll believe in that nonsense. It's mind-boggling. Go ahead, Grayson.
Well, I was going to say we do have mathematics that does work for hologram theory, and that you can model all of reality as like a two-dimensional matrix of quantum information, and you can derive everything that we observe in reality from that. So we do actually have a mathematical reason to think that this might be the case. It's not just like, completely unsubstantiated.
Right. So, and I don't have an issue with the hologram portion or the simulation hypothesis or a variety of other ones. I have no issue with those. I just don't understand how, if true, why that would not lend credence to there being an external agent.
Well, in my own personal conception, I think that same kind of physics is going on the surface of black holes. And yeah, I think that there's pretty strong information to suggest that as well. So,
okay, you're dancing around the question.
Sounds like a cult to me.
You're dancing around the question, Grayson. The question was, why would that not lend credence towards there being a external agent necessary to create the hologram and the rules that govern it and such? Like, why would that not lean in that's favor?
Did you hear my explanation, or did I cut out?
Yeah, you went on mute.
Cut out at the end.
Oh, okay. I was just saying it's like that you can have a natural process that creates a simulation like this, and the example is that it is a surface of a black hole from which this same kind of physics is going on, at least according to our current mathematical understanding.
Okay,
Grayson.
so you have the math and the rules to govern the hologram. Okay, yeah, cool. We do that in the holograms that we create. Do you think that just because the math exists to create holograms that they're going to create themselves?
Well, we see them create themselves in black holes. That's what I'm saying. On the surface of a black hole, this same kind of physics applies.
Well, of course, yeah, the physics applies. Okay,
I'm talking about.
Okay, Grayson, you're nitpicking and playing dumb again. Okay, the formation of a hologram that we create of the what are the Super Bowl when Prince took part in the halftime show after he was freaking dead and played via hologram. Okay, is that ever in your position from your worldview? Is the Prince hologram ever going to come into existence without the necessity of a preceding intelligent agent?
That's not the kind of hologram.
I asked you a freaking question, bro. Answer the damn
No.
question. Okay, cool. All right, Praise, what's up, man? Welcome to the stream. How you doing?
Hey, I got a good one, Grayson.
Hey,
What
Pizza,
if
hang on. Pizza, hang on. We're gonna let Praise.
yeah, sorry,
He
Praise.
just joined. What's up, Praise? How you doing, man?
Good, man. Good. Thanks for having me. I'm enjoying the conversation tonight. So.
Grayson, I got a hypothetical for you. Okay, you're just chilling, all right, in your house, and a black hole appears, and out pops Jesus, and he says, "Hey, what's up, Grayson?" "Yep, it's me." And then black hole's away. Would you be a Christian then?
I don't know, man. That's pretty wacky.
Well, I try.
Okay, so let's so if God appears to you, you're not going to believe in God?
I
what he
didn't say
said.
that. I don't know what I would do in that situation. It's fantastical.
If
Well,
Jesus,
I'm just saying, if Jesus pops into right in front of you, like pops out of nowhere, boom, performs a freaking miracle in front of you, and then's like, Grayson, I am
This is
so
me.
sick and tired of listening to atheists demand that I come and show myself and perform a godlike act in front of them in order for them to believe. So I'm here, Grayson. I'm here to do that for you. Okay, now what's your position?
Well, I'd be pretty thankful for that. Then I'd probably become a Christian.
Wow, we're making progress. P, virtual high five.
That's a miracle. Look at that. Miracles
This is
exist.
the
Grayson
stuff
conceded. Grayson actually conceded something that might hypothetically make him believe that God exists. It's a miracle.
Okay.
So you're saying you wouldn't immediately pivot to it must be part of the hologram?
No, probably not.
So what collapses the wave function? I'm curious, Grayson.
Interaction.
What collapses? So have you heard of the it's called the observer problem?
I mean, I'm generally aware of it. I would say that it's not necessarily an observer problem, but it's more so the fact that every observation is an interaction with the system, and interaction with like another particle is what collapses the wave function.
Well, the von Neumann chain, like it kind of goes into that. It's just an infinite regress after that. So there has to be something outside the system that collapses the wave function. We call that a non-local observer. So if you think that some type of contraption or measurement device would collapse the wave function, well, then what would collapse that? What collapse that? What would collapse that? It just becomes an infinite regress. So I mean,
every
it's just
particle interacting with every other particle is
Okay,
collapsing the
so
wave function.
the origination models, the particles don't yet exist. They're back in like quantum foam and quantum fields, not particles. So this goes back to the collapse of the universal wave function that is the root problem for the existence of the universe. Like this is
the universal wave function doesn't really mean much.
well, there's been quite a few like papers written on that topic.
I mean, I know like there's a theory of everything papers, but universal wave function, unless you're just talking about like the wave function of the unified field.
No, dude, the universal wave function is a root fundamental of cosmology.
A wave function is just like a particle.
The universal wave function, which is what would have to contain everything else that's going to collapse after all those particles that you're talking about. The universal wave function has to account for everything from the very root. And it's the entirety of everything. Okay, that would constitute the universe.
It would not, though, because a wave function requires space.
Oh my god,
what we're talking
dude!
about is before space. Okay. So a wave function would not be used to describe it.
Okay.
Is there a tangible example for this topic?
Every single thing is a wave function. An electron is a wave function. Every elementary particle,
Grayson,
everything that you're made up of.
I know, Grayson. Yeah, we know this. Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Well, he just asked, "Is there a tangible example?" So, everything's an example.
You know how when you stretch out those waves, like a lot of them can be stretched out, right, Grayson? How they study a lot of them.
What do you mean stretch it out? Like you
when it comes to light particles, sound.
Okay, I mean you're a wave function, but okay.
That's pretty deep.
I think that's a good
the universal
question.
Wave function describes the position of every particle in the universe at a particular moment in time. Okay, it also describes every possible location of those particles at that instant.
Oh,
right?
Okay. So then that was totally different than what you were saying.
No. Okay, never mind. We're getting back to the root of how that comes to be, and this is, okay. So Grayson, here's a question, because I'm gonna ask you the same one I ask super douche Mark Reed. Have you ever actually taken the time to read a book that puts forth arguments contrary to the standard consensus?
Yeah, I read Standing for Truth's book.
Okay. Have you ever read The Return of the God Hypothesis?
Nope.
Okay. You should read that book. It's like gigantic. It is footnoted out the freaking wazoo and goes into very intricate detail about the variety of models in relation to the existence of the universe. You can skip over all the stuff by biology if you don't want to get into all that stuff, because the whole second half of the book is about things such as solving the universal wave function and a plethora of other things in relation to how does the cosmos exist without a intelligent agent, and both argues for and against, acts as devil's advocate, so on and so forth. And anyway, it might open your mind a little bit to, you don't have to reach the same conclusion that the author or myself or others have reached, but it might make you think a little bit more detailed about the assumptions that are put forth in some of these conversations.
All right.
Who wrote it? Just curious.
Meyer.
The ID proponent?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
How dare he be an ID proponent?
Which is why I asked. So, Andrew, obviously, as usual, you weren't paying attention, which is reason I asked Grayson if he ever read books written by people on the other side of consensus. And he said yes, in relation to Saying for Truth's book. And then I asked him about Return of the God hypothesis. He said no.
Well, I mean, a book related to a non-standard consensus idea isn't necessarily written by a person who also believes that.
Okay, so Andrew's going to nitpick again, even though we're obviously discussing a specific. Never mind. What's up, Bubblegum Gun? How you doing, man?
A long time no see. Well, what's the topic of the debate? Because you guys are like going between like a bunch of stuff right now. So like Grayson was talking about the.
Hey, before we get off this wave thing, so when the Bible talks about a God stretched out the heavens like a curtain, is there any relationship there, you think, LPP?
Well, here's the thing. A wave. Here's like telling me it's a wave isn't telling me what it is, because you got to understand what's a wave. A wave is what something does, not what something is. For example, me waving my hand is what I do, but a wave doesn't exist in and of itself. This is no different than saying the waves on the water exist. No, the waves on the water don't exist. It's what the water does. So tell me it's a wave function isn't telling me what it is.
It's an excitation of a quantum field.
Yeah, what is the quantum field? Tell me what that is.
The quantum field is the fundamental metric of reality. You can have like different kinds of quantum fields, but ultimately every electron is an excitation of the electron field.
The field is just an abstract, but you're not like when you say quantum field, you're not telling me what the quantum field is.
So when you have two magnets and they repel each other, what you're feeling that is very real is the magnetic field. The fields are real, and the excitations in them are what you're feeling as the magnetic repulsion. Then you are feeling something real. So if you were to imagine what that force of the magnetic repulsion is, it's the same thing as like a particle is an excitation of electron field, but it's like very, very tiny and tied up in like knots. That's what an electron is.
But are you admitting you're appealing to something non-physical? Or is it physical?
No, a field is physical. The magnetic field,
is physical. Okay.
There.
When you say it's physical, you should be able to provide a physical quantity of the quantum field.
Yeah, it's called a quantum. Like a photon, electron, that is a physical quantity of the field.
An electron, well, electrons aren't physical neither.
Electrons are physical.
What?
No, they're not. The founder of the electron, the person who discovered the electron, said it wasn't physical. What an electron
Who cares
is
what J.J. Thompson said? Like we know that electrons are physical.
No, it's not.
That's a fact.
No, they're not. If you're going to say the quantum field is physical, provide a physical quantity. Why do you think you can't provide a physical quantity?
I can. It's called an electron. Like you can provide that. Okay.
It's not okay. Provide an electron in and of itself.
Yeah, we can do that. There are electron guns that shoot out one electron at a time.
How can you be a realist if you believe in a holographic universe? You're not a realist. You're not a physicalist. No way.
No, because what he's saying is akin to saying that light is physical. Light has no physicality.
Yeah, light is physical.
Okay. If you're going to say light is physical, can you capture light?
You can make a solar sail that literally is propelled by the momentum of light.
That's plain false too, though. It's just plain false. You know that they've done experiments now. They falsified the Wheeler-DeWitt equation, which means like if anything really has physical reality, there is no. They've proven like in a local sense there is nothing that's real. Like if you You need to demonstrate that anything
In a
locally is
local
real, and you
sense,
can't.
dude. That's just talking about locality. Who said I believe in locality?
Right. Yeah.
That's independent
The
of believing
physics
in
meaning
reality.
of locality and real is very
But there
different.
is no objective physicality, though. You need to demonstrate. The only way we
Exactly.
could know if there was any real physicality or natural, like you call naturalism, there would have to be some type of locality to demonstrate that. But see, you can't, because that's been falsified. It's been debunked. So we live in a non-natural. We call a anti-realist reality.
No,
There's nothing
we live
physical.
in a non-local reality that is real. Like, hey, those are not mutually exclusive things. It's just non-local.
No,
And what do
because
you
you
mean
need to.
by
So
that?
the observer would have to be physical, and you can't do that. The observer actually is independent of the reality.
No, it's not, dude. The
Yeah,
observer is the observer is just like an interaction with the system. That's all that is meant by that.
that's not true, because they have, what was it, John? You told me the other day that they can go back in time. I forget what they called it. Like it reverses back in time, and it's because the knowledge in the observers.
You're talking about retrocausality.
Yeah, retrocausality. That's what. Yeah. So the observer, the knowledge in the observer's mind, or the experimenter, decided the experiment before it even happened.
You're not interpreting that correctly.
No, I'm not. That's actually by Anton Zeilinger, who leads the whole quantum
Yeah, I know. He just won
profession.
the Nobel Prize. He didn't say that.
Yeah,
He's
that's
talking
exactly
about
what he showed.
non-locality.
Well, I
The
don't even think
knowledge in it was.
retrocausality is more than an interpretation of it.
No, it's not. It's not. Retrocausality is the interpretation that Zellinger has, but that is
Right.
not like necessitated
All
by
right,
the data.
real
All
quick.
you have to necessitate is non-locality.
Real quick, I gotta step away for a second. Are you guys? Are we in dumpster fire, or are you guys gonna behave to an extent while I'm gone for like 2 minutes? We gonna behave? We gonna behave?
I think you'll be okay.
KFC spelled profit correctly.
All right, I'll be right back.
Yeah, when you say light is physical, that's absurd. Because, like, let's say light is physical, then you would have to clean out the electrons and photons out of your video camera, because so many of them they're physical and they're clogging up your video camera. It's absurd to say light is physical, because that's what you literally would have to do to your camera. You have to empty out the photons out of your little camera.
No, you wouldn't. Photons can be absorbed by atoms or bonds.
And now they're gonna be absorbed. Oh my god. Well, where are they absorbing into? Where are they absorbing to? Into the phones? So my phone's gonna get heavier now?
No, they're absorbing into the electron shells of the atoms of the phone.
You know, sometimes I think it's important
That's
to
still
ask the
saying.
question.
That's still saying the same
who
thing as what I'm
cares?
saying. Oh no, it's because it's important, because they know the field isn't physical,
Right.
and they know the fundamental to reality isn't a physical one.
It is.
They
You're
need-
exactly right. Quantum information is more fundamental than space, time, and matter itself. So why is that the case? Everything's physical. Then why is quantum information, fundamental?
It's still physical.
No, it's
not
not,
physical.
because then
If it's
space,
physical,
time, and matter
provide
would
a
be
physical
physical then
quantity.
and fundamental.
Why can't you
mean,
provide a
space-time
physical quantity
can bend
in and of
curve
itself?
in a sense.
Space would be fundamental then. Time would be fundamentally physical, and also the matter would be fundamentally physical. But we have something beyond that as information. That's a material by definition.
No, it's still physical. Information has to have a
It's
medium.
a medium. Yes, we know there's a
medium
medium,
is
but doesn't mean the information itself is actually physical.
There
You don't
is
even
no
understand.
information that
You don't even
exists without a
understand
medium.
metaphysics.
There's no information that exists without a medium.
Yes,
The
we agree with that.
medium,
But
the medium
the
underlies the universe. So
does-
what? But then, I'm sorry. Go ahead, man.
yeah, the medium, it's if in and of itself isn't the information. You can impose the information on the medium, but the medium in and of itself isn't giving you the info.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's true. Like you can't get the information without the medium. So yes, you can put the information on multiple different mediums.
For example, I can make a key out of ice. I can make a key out of copper. I can make a key out of plastic. The medium is irrelevant to the information.
Yeah, but you can't make a key out of nothing. Like the information doesn't exist non-physically.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
that's
the
not the problem.
information only exists in a physical sense, even if it's regardless of medium.
No, the medium exists physically.
The information exists in the medium, though. Like you said, you can have a key
it's
of
not-
any kind of
it's
medium,
not-
but you
it's
always
not
will
in
have
the-
it in a physical key.
It's not in the medium.
It is of the medium. Who cares? Now you're nitpicking words, and I return to what P-Town says. Who cares?
I guess. Yeah, well, it is nitpicking. I agree.
Physicality is an abstract concept anyway. You're talking about conceptual things. That doesn't make any. Even the concept itself is immaterial. Show me where the concept of physicality is. It's like you're gonna find your pillow, or there is no such thing. They're abstracts.
It's a dumb question.
So it just proves you there's immateriality, which you don't accept. So you defeat your own position. It's so stupid.
Yeah, I really don't think so.
Well,
you denying abstracts exist?
Well, they don't exist. Those things abstracts don't exist. Because what exists is what a thing does. It's a verb. So, for example, I wouldn't say God exists because God isn't a thing.
Right, but the law of non-contradiction, that is an entity, but it is non-physical. It's a conceptual entity. You mean that it has no physical structure to it, so it transcends reality because it's not space, time, or matter. So that's where I'm going at with it. It's more of a mental object, and it just shows you everything is derived from mind. Everything is fundamentally mind, and these people can't see it. It's just too bad.
Well, yeah, I mean, order derives from mind. Order can only arrive from a mind.
Nope, I can give you an example.
How? Well, you
okay, so order can arise without a mind if you have a frozen star and then a planet is introduced. The planet will start rotating around the star. You have thus decreased the entropy of the system. You've increased its order without expending any energy or without a mind.
Wait, you increased its entropy?
No, you decreased its entropy and increased its order.
Okay, so first off, you're already starting with an order that's already there. So the problem is, how do you get to the order upon which...
You just said that a mind has to be there to create order. I just showed you how order can be created without a mind.
Where'd the planet come from?
Yeah, that's the thing. Where'd the planet come from?
It doesn't matter for the
You need the order to have the planet. You cannot have material. You can't have the material world unless you have the order prior to it. Else it would just collapse back into chaos.
I can't believe people are denying that abstracts exist. That's like literally saying universals don't exist. I mean, are the atheists in here really denying universals exist?
Maybe Godless Girl.
Godless Girl, well, yeah, because she's, I think, a nominalist, but but that's easy to refute nominalism, though. Because even to have...
What I'm denying is that mind has to be like primary to like space, time, and matter. I don't see that as a logical conclusion.
How so? Quantum information is more fundamental than matter and physicality.
Yeah, I don't see quantum information as having anything to do with mind.
Seems like...
Then why is it more fundamental? Okay, this answer the question, why is it fundamental, and why is matter not fundamental, and why are they not in the same category?
Because we can express mathematically like how space, time, and matter can arise like from a two-dimensional complex plane of quantum information. So like because we have the mathematics to explain how space, time, and matter can arise from like this simple two-dimensional entangled quantum system of information. So we have the math to support it. That's why.
You would agree math requires a mind, right?
It just depends on what you mean, because like if you're just finding math as like the way that things like function around us and like the way
This
that
is
the
just
world
like a
progresses, then it doesn't
description.
need a mind. But if you're describing it as the description of that, then it does need a mind.
Where is 2 + 2 = 4 in reality physically? Can you show me its geographical location or its GPS location? Go ahead, tell me.
Sure, it's anywhere on Earth where two things come together with two other things.
No, that's just a medium of 2 + 2 = 4. I want.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just a medium. Yeah, you're just giving me what a medium is. I don't care. I want the original 2 + 2 = 4. I want that.
So,
In and of
The
itself.
so you're
concept.
giving it an example of how abstractions don't exist now?
This
No, I'm
is the
showing you
deepest
how
space to me,
what you
man.
consider physical is not physical. We just 2 + 2 = 4 is not physical. You can't find it anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just a description of physical reality.
Yeah, of a medium. It imposes itself on a medium, sure. Like if we write the pencil 2 + 2 = 4, that doesn't mean we just now discovered 2 + 2 = 4. Are you saying we just now discovered that? Whoever discovered 2 + 2 = 4, the cavemen or whatever you think,
We didn't
monkeys
invent.
turning into human beings? No.
Well,
I
we
mean,
didn't
they
invent math.
they
Like,
didn't invent that. They discovered that. It was something that they found out. It was already there beforehand.
I don't know if I would go that far, honestly.
I mean, but you agree, okay, so if you put a medium, let's just use a pencil, 2 + 2 = 4. Is that the same thing as the concept 2 + 2 = 4? It's immaterial. It's of a mind. It's conceptual.
Well,
So this is what I'm trying to show.
you realize that like the things that go on in your mind are also like physical. Like we know like the physical shape of and substance of those thoughts, like the actual conception. So it's still
Where in
expressed in
your mind
physical
is 2
sense.
+ 2 = 4? I'd like, can you extract it out of your mind, brain surgery? Go ahead,
Yeah,
let's see.
it's in the pattern of flow of salt ions between like the neurons in my head. Like that's
Really?
the
So it's in
actual.
an ion. Can you give me some physical proof of that?
come
Yeah,
on,
I mean it's
Grayson.
the
Stop
physical
being silly.
material of my
Come on,
thoughts. I
Grayson.
mean it's the
Grayson,
it's the pattern of neuronal fire.
Grayson, you understand that's a meaning. Come on, stop being silly.
Yeah, that's a medium,
I
exactly.
know he keeps on talking about mediums.
Well,
Does that
I
mean
agreed it
identical
was a
twins
medium.
always have identical thoughts?
Wait, what was that, Stephen?
I said, does that mean identical twins always have identical thoughts?
No, their connections in their brain are different. It's not just a result of your genetics. It also like as they're developing, differences occur. I mean, there's like 100 trillion connections in the brain. It's like the genes cannot code every single individual connection.
Yeah, it's kind of like to use another part of the body, the blood vessels. It's not like the genes code for where a particular blood vessel goes in the left arm versus the right arm. No, that's not how the body develops.
Well, this is the
So
thing.
it's
The
kind of
the,
a
the
crude analogy, but
Can I
yeah,
be a
the,
medium and just say I feel like I'm learning absolutely nothing from this conversation?
Okay. What's up, Grayson? How you doing?
Hey, how's it going? I actually had a question concerning like communication theory because I think that you're probably more well versed than I am in it. I was just sort of looking at what are some other examples in the realms of like chemistry that we might have of communication theory. And I found a paper, I think from 2002 or something, that was analyzing chemical bonds from the perspective of communication theory and was showing that there was some alignment in predictions there. So have you ever thought about that, like chemical bonds from the perspective of a communication theory and how closely that would fit?
Well, I mean, there's been lots that have gone into that in terms of how the chemical bonds are being utilized for communication. There's no doubt about that. I mean, it's just like humans are currently creating. I mean, we're storing data, digital data in DNA right now. I mean, we're utilizing chemical bonds, quote unquote, and syntax and order of codons that we created in order to store digital information. Like humans are doing this right now. So this is why I get so much entertainment from the Evo atheists who are. Oh, do we lose Grayson? Oh, there he is. That's why I don't know if you were able to hear what I was saying, Grayson.
Sorry, I was being dumb, and I posted the link to the study in the side chat, and then I accidentally exited out, and I dropped out. I couldn't hear your response, unfortunately.
Okay, gotcha. I was saying that in terms of the chemical bonds and communication, I mean, humans are currently storing data in DNA sequences. Like we're using chemical structure order in a specific order to store digital information. Like that's one of the reasons I get so much entertainment and get so frustrated with the Evo atheists on YouTube who run around claiming this is like, it's just chemistry. It's like, well, chemistry, chemical or molecular structures are being utilized as the medium to store the information.
Okay,
But
so the study that I posted in the side chat here is basically looking at the actual chemical bond itself as the act of communication, I think. If I'm interpreting that correctly. It was kind of hard to even understand the abstract, but just it's a communication theory model of chemical bonds. So it's like the sender and receiver are the two different molecules that are becoming chemically bonded, and that would be like represented in communication theory, is my understanding of what the study is talking about. So it would be like an example of a like a code or something that you could use communication theory to analyze that was just, something as simple, quote unquote, as a chemical bond. So like not coming from intelligence or life.
They're stating that the chemical bond itself is a communication, which is ridiculous.
No, as in you can use communication theory to analyze it. I mean, if you're going to use communication theory to analyze the genetic code and you say, look, it has all these properties that align with communication theory, it seems like you can do the same thing for a chemical bond.
Well, I think they put in the cart before the horse kind of situation.
Well, potentially. And like I said, the one that's available right now on that link you sent is the abstract. So a lot more have to be read. And there's also a lot of stuff in quotes.
Yeah, like I said,
and it looks like they're looking this much more on entropy and noise. I mean, it's fine. But like I said, this is just I kind of get annoyed when people like send an article that's only the abstract and then claim that it somehow is, affecting the overall point. But are you one of the people who claim that the genetic code is not code?
No, I don't really have a strong claim about that or not. I wouldn't say that. Yeah, I haven't made that claim. I think I was asking in the chat if your argument is basically that like the genetic code is irreducibly complex. Is that like the gist of it?
Well, I mean, irreducible complex. I mean, from overall communication system perspective, yes. I mean, there's not just the code. I mean, there's so much more that's required for the expression of a code, rather outside of just the code itself existing. I mean, like just because you have the, somebody wrote down, ASCII on a piece of paper, right? There's a hell of a lot more that's required before you can actually use it for some kind of function, right? So, oh, looky here. Larry is here. So, Larry Fulkerson, please click the link and come on in to have the conversation. Unless, Larry, are you somebody that's already in? And Grayson, are you actually Larry? Is that your Sox account?
No, it's not my pseudonym, I promise.
Okay. Right. Even if you've got this in terms of signals, I don't think anybody would argue that these would necessarily be codes, because code, you don't have like what's being represented. Like what's the source and target?
Yeah, because you need to precept the code before you have the digits, the bonds.
Could you explain what the equivalent would be in the genetic code, and that would help me understand the question?
You don't seem to understand that proteins are very specific and they only have function in the presence of other proteins. So there's the chances
not
that
true.
they've evolved.
That's simply not true. Do you have any evidence for that?
Okay, well, I'm obviously talking about the proteins which are used in living organisms.
Okay, do you acknowledge that there are proteins that catalyze reactions between two non-protein molecules?
So what?
So then that demonstrates that what you just said is false and that proteins can
Yeah.
exhibit function in the absence of other proteins.
Yeah, but think about it this way. Even if you get one protein necessary for life, which is extremely unlikely to happen, it can only have function if the other protein that's necessary for its function to exist also exists. So there's really no chance of any functional.
We just demonstrated
No.
that it doesn't depend on any other proteins for its function, that there
Actually,
are
it does
proteins that
because
have
proteins
No,
only
Grace, hang on.
form.
Hazel Foss, hang on. Grayson, it is well recognized that things such as transcription factors are root necessities for
You can have a protein consisting of just two amino acids that can catalyze the formation of
two amino acids, dude. No, you're
yes, you
no.
can.
Of two amino acids.
Yes, two amino acids
Okay.
together can have
The problem
catalytic
is,
function.
You're saying that two amino acids can act as a ligate for something else. Anyway, that's
They
irrelevant.
can have
Grayson,
catalytic function.
Grayson, calm down. Number one, you're going to need to substantiate that two amino acids are operating as a functional protein.
Yeah,
that
look at Ikehara Kenji's review in 2016.
Grayson, you can't even form a protein fold without at least the proteins. It's insane to think that what you're claiming could be involved with when we look at living things, are there any proteins that have function that are only two amino acids long?
We have demonstrated that this is the case with histone and serine together having catalytic function. And even glycine, which is the most simple amino acid, which will spontaneously form into glycine dimers or triplets or chains, that can also have catalytic function. It's been demonstrated.
So just two amino acid chains have function. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, go look at Kenji Ikehara's review in 2016. It's an entire review of abiogenesis literature, and it will show you all the sources for this.
Hold on. Are there like
Okay, Grayson.
Hold on, I want to ask a question.
Hey, it's my room. Okay, Grayson. I'm gonna need you to go find this and bring it up, and because nobody actually views a two amino acid chain as being remotely coherent in relation to formation of macro level functional proteins. Whether or not it can, the two of them can they can react with other stuff is not create formation of a functional protein. Okay, it's way different. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, when we look at living organisms, we can talk about theoretical possibilities all we want. Do we see anything in living organisms functioning as a protein of two amino acid chain, a chain of two amino acids? Is there anything like that in a living organism? Grayson?
Okay, I posted the paper in the chat. You can go to section 2.5.
I understand, but did they point out anything that functions in a modern living organism that functions with anything close like a 2, 3? What's the smallest they found in a living organism?
Why is it unacceptable for you that they demonstrate that just a two amino acid chain sequence can have catalytic function, and you're saying that is not valid unless it's wait, let me finish. You're saying that is not valid unless it is demonstrable in a currently living organism. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying I have no reason to believe that has anything to do with living things if it's not present in observable living organisms. That's not science. I want to know what I can observe. It is science
if it's showing that it has catalytic function.
Okay,
I don't care about
wait.
catalytic function. I care about functional proteins that are involved in living organisms. You're going to tell me there's some non-existent, pre-existent, microscopic organism that had 2 amino acid proteins, and there's no evidence for this in anything we observe. I want to know what to
Listen,
observe in
you are
living organisms.
moving the goalpost. Your
No,
original
I'm
claim.
basing it
Can
on
I
what we
talk? Can I
observe.
talk? Let me just
Okay, the
let me get this
goalpost
out.
is this.
Hey, calm down, guys.
The
Guys,
goalpost
calm
is
down.
this.
Calm down.
What
Calm
do we
down.
actually observe?
Okay, calm down. Grayson, number one, what was the section you were referring to?
2.5.
Okay, go ahead, guys.
You can pull it up on the screen if you want.
This is the problem I have. We want something we can observe. We want evidence that's provable, and then you accept.
I am demonstrating that it's provable.
Ridiculous ideas.
Hey,
And when I
hey,
say
philosophy. Oh my god.
You've never seen it.
Okay, a philosophy.
You're making all these claims.
A philosophy. All he's saying is that there's a chemical reaction. I mean, you know what a catalyst is?
Yes, I do.
It just increases the chemical reaction. So I don't know.
Something that expedites a chemical reaction.
Yeah. So I don't know what's the point of that.
So the problem is to get an actual living organism. You need protein. You need an ensemble of proteins that are hundreds of amino acids long. You wouldn't be able to just have all these little 2 amino acid proteins floating around wherever they are. You would absolutely need probably hundreds of amino acids that are hundreds of different amino acids of chains, hundreds of proteins, each of which is over 100 or so amino acids long. I mean, we're talking the bare minimum, and you're giving me 2 amino acids.
Why?
What point is Grayson refuting, by the way? What was the
I am
point?
trying to refute his claim about proteins needing other proteins to exist, and that proteins need to be like extremely long to have any value or function. I'm basically just pointing out that you can have extremely simple proteins, even as short as 2 amino acids, that do have some sort of catalytic function that is observable.
Okay. Which protein is 2 amino acids long?
I believe the one given in the example was just histine and serine together.
Yeah, but you realize if you ask.
Okay, hang on. So I'm gonna. Okay, so by the way, you're wrong on that one, but it's However,
well, I don't have the paper in front of me.
Serine histine dipeptide could not play any role in biochemical evolutionary process on the primitive Earth, even if the dipeptide has a high catalytic activity, because it would be hard to obtain the dipeptides on the primitive Earth due to the low abundance of histine. On the contrary, glycine dipeptide and glycine tripeptide would play a role even if these peptides have only a low catalytic activity. The low activity of the simple peptide catalyst is out of the question because it is sufficient for synthesis of organic compounds in the absence of any effective proteinous catalyst on the primitive Earth. And then it goes into like this would have to be done with heating and drying processes, all that sort of kind of stuff.
Okay, so that's showing that exactly what A was claiming about proteins needing other proteins is not the case. He's saying in that example, he just said that a glycine doublet or triplet.
Grayson, what Anthony was referring to was recognized functional proteins, and the having a glycine dipeptide, nobody actually recognizes that as a functional protein.
He just said it just said in the article that it had function.
Let's say I wanted proof that a space shuttle could arrange itself naturally, and it needs all these electronics and stuff. And you find like a sheet of scrap metal that forms, and you're like, see, we have scrap metal. If enough of this piles up, we might get a space shuttle that flies to the moon. That's how stupid your argument sounds to me. Really, it does.
All right. Well, that's just how it sounds to you. I don't think that's actually an analogous.
You shouldn't engage things like that.
All right. Well, Nuke, I referred you to if you really want to understand how bad the mathematics are for your position, where you think proteins can just randomly evolve in the history of life,
Which we
you
just showed they
should.
can.
No, you didn't. You didn't even. But
Why?
If the proteins are very short, then they can easily.
have you ever read
Yeah.
any books by intelligent design proponents, Nuke?
No, you're talking about the like.
Are you asking me if I read any proponents of? No, I didn't.
Okay.
Well, if you want to understand the mathematics, I recommend you read Stephen C. Meyer's book Signature in the Cell
I
and
love
Darwin Doubts.
the condescending thing of, if you want to understand, read those authors and don't read the other authors. I could say the same. I could also say, read this book and then you will understand. That's not an argument.
Okay,
Make
Nate.
a proper
Okay,
argument.
no. Then make the. What is the book?
For what?
What is the
To
book
understand
that would make
mathematics.
that's going to make Anthony understand the mathematics?
For example, the paper. What's this called? Grayson just posted shows exactly that. It shows two amino acids having a function. And I don't understand why that would not be enough to satisfy his requirement.
Because there is. Oh my god. Okay, Grayson. Honestly, dude, do you actually do you debunk like Eugene Koonin, H-index 266, head of the NIH evolutionary biology department, who has done the math and says that for the probability for the translation factors to form random through random process is 1 in 10 to the 1018th power.
I would probably say that his math is correct, but based on faulty assumptions.
Okay, and what's his faulty assumption?
Well, I would have to look at the math because I'm not familiar with him specifically, but is he using basically he's using 20 amino acids and the triplet codons, and that's his assumption for how it would form?
I mean, I would assume so, yeah.
Because there are lots of hypotheses that show that how the basic framework can evolve with just 4 codons instead of 64. Like the GNC hypothesis.
Continue.
So basically, there are only 4 codon pairs to account for. G and then C, and then the middle, GN, the N is basically a substitute for any of the amino acids. So that's basically 4, where you're only changing one part of the codon. It's a much simpler code to evolve. So basically, the fault that I find in his math is that he's trying to calculate probabilities based on the current existing version of the system rather than accounting for possible precursors that are more simple.
What do you mean by that?
I just explained what a more simple precursor would be.
These precursors don't exist by in any form. There's no evidence that these precursors existed. None in the
purpose
biological record.
is just to show that it's possible.
These people who can't understand basic arguments think they've disproven God. It's like, how arrogant.
That's how I feel about you guys in evolution.
Yeah. Also, I don't think I have disproved God. I just think you claim something that you can't know. And I say, you can't know that. Like, for example, this code argument. In the end, I don't see why it differs from the argument of complexity. All you say is code is really, really complex. And because it's really, really complex, it couldn't just happen.
No. Oh my God, dude. Do you guys never actually freaking pay attention? This is so, okay.
I will say
based on known necessities, X is the requirement. This has the same necessities. Therefore, the same X is the likely necessity for their existence. Like, This is based on known factors, not just it's complex, therefore God. This is based on known necessities for things with the exact same factors. Like, how difficult is this for you guys to comprehend?
That's
Like,
why I brought up the example of a chemical bond.
Oh, fuck's sake. Dude.
You know that, for example, bees have a dance that produces a form of language.
Oh my!
Are bees conscious? No, they are
Oh
not.
No,
what is your necessity?
My audio just jumped out. Did I hear you use bees dancing? Is that what you just talked about?
As an example of language,
yeah, he was talking about the waggle dance.
Holy mother of all dunk! I mean, dude, I know you're not this dumb. Does the bee have an underlying necessity of code and a complete communication system and a plethora of other functions that are necessary prior to any freaking bee dancing taking place?
Yes, of course, you have to have a bee to have ads.
So why in the flying F? I mean, it blows my mind that Evo Atheists on YouTube continue to use bees as somehow a defeater for the necessity of the root code. It is so dumb. It is so dumb.
It's not a defeater of the root code. It's the defeater
dumb, dude.
of
why do you bring it up?
A consciousness.
Dude,
because your ultimate claim is you need for a code to exist, you need consciousness.
Nunk, is the bee an intelligent agent?
I wouldn't say so.
Oh, okay. You're gone. If you don't think the bee is an intelligent agent, then you're too freaking stupid to even be in this conversation. I can't take it.
I mean, the bee wouldn't be there unless the genetic code in the bee existed. So it's really a horrible argument.
I mean, I have heard that argument so many times. It is driving me up the freaking wall. Are people actually, Grayson? Please tell me you're not that dumb as well.
I'm not that dumb.
Okay, awesome.
They're not dumb. They're delusional.
Well, I don't think I don't think the guy understood why signal theory is it's contradictory.
I can't take it. I cannot take it. It blows me away how this is like an ongoing talking point.
Yeah, look, the lies are going to reach people before the truth gets to it. Everybody's going to buy the lies. So there's no point getting mad.
I can't take it. I mean,
it's kind of shocking that people fall for these
Well, they got very good propaganda. I mean, they control the schools. They control academia. They have an infrastructure for their propaganda, and you guys don't.
That's exactly right. It's programmed when people are too young to question it, and when they're not really asking these questions.
I mean, it's even in the media.
In their mind.
It's cool. It's cool to be atheist. It's cool. It's hip to be atheist.
I mean, the same thing could also be applied to religion, right? I mean, you're taught religion at a very young age.
It's not hip at all. It's in the media. It's portrayed as grumpy old people who are like bigoted and ignorant.
Yeah, I was going to tell a story earlier about when I was in high school biology. They taught the Miller-Urey experiment, and how it basically just demonstrated right there on the spot how life could come about. And my biology teacher said, "Yep, thanks to Miller-Urey, we basically know how life arose." And when you actually look at the Miller-Urey experiment, it's a horrible failure for the abiogenesis position. It really is. It's just how they present it. They lie to you. They literally lie.
Hey, is A's philosophy cutting in and out for anybody else or just me?
Yeah, he's staticking a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I have a bad connection.
Nunk says it's pretty easy. Nunk says, yeah, it's pretty easy to call someone who makes an argument you don't like a troll, so you're allowed to throw them out. Nunk, no, I'm throwing you out because I know from previous conversations you're not this stupid. So you're obviously being a troll if you're somehow claiming that bee dancing defeats the intelligent agency for code. Like it's just dumb. It's
I got two words.
Well,
I got two words for you, LPP. Enigma machine.
I know.
Well, I think maybe, I mean, because you were just using the argument that a bee would be considered an intelligent agent if it's coming up with this waggle dance language. But I think maybe like a better example in the biological world might be like the types of communication that occurs in plants between like their root systems. If you're more familiar, I mean, I don't think anyone would really call the tree itself an intelligent agent, but
I
then I
would.
would assume that you just go back to saying that it was that plants were created this way by God to have this intelligent language, and they didn't evolve it themselves.
Well, I mean,
That'd be my guess.
what they're clearly identifying inside of both bacteria and plants is that there's clear communication systems and signaling that's being sent and received, and then modifications are being made based on preceding information and communication methodologies, right?
Yeah, the
So-
very
So I don't understand why you would even bring that up, because it in fact just further substantiates my point.
okay, the very fact that plants can have memory, it pretty much is kind of defeats any what's the freaking word I'm looking for? Any objection from the plant position.
Like, so you're just saying that plants are intelligent?
Yeah, they have memory. There's this scientist who did an experiment. She would drop the plant. Okay, first the plant is I don't know what's the name of the plant, but it would close its leaves if you're like I'm not sure if you know the name of it, but if you get your hand near it, it closes its leaves because it senses you get near it. So what this lady did was like pretty much train the plant. She would like drop it and the plant would like react to it, but after a while the plant stopped reacting to it being dropped, so it wouldn't close its leaves anymore because now it had this in its memory. So she waited for like a couple months and did it again, and it remembered this, so it wasn't reacting to it being touched or dropped. So yeah, plants are intelligent, so it had a memory and it was using that memory to make an option. So it is intelligent.
Okay, so basically for any biological example, then the retort is just basically gonna that is actually intelligent agency then.
I don't think. I think maybe the better word is mindful or sentient. But
Okay,
sentient,
so then my response, I guess, I just got to go back to the chemical bond thing, right? I mean, you have one atom that is conveying information to another atom about the allocation of its electrons, and the chemical bond itself is an information channel between the two. So that is all in communications theory and does not require an intelligent agent for
well, the
communication.
thing is, the problem with that is it can be a result of pure physical forces of nature.
Exactly.
So these
That's
are
what
things
I'm
that happen
claiming is
by.
the same for the genetic code.
Okay, well, no, it doesn't follow because, like, if I throw a ball in the air, it's gonna come down to the ground because of gravity. But like, I guess the difference would be saying something like constructing an object that requires an agent to stand up as opposed to the force of gravity. You see what I'm saying?
Constructing an agent that what? Sorry about that. I didn't hear.
But basically, certain aspects of our universe which are merely controlled by the forces of nature, physical forces of nature. But there are other aspects of reality which seem to require an intelligent agent to manipulate matter to create the desired outcome. So there is a dichotomy there.
I think that it's the first case though, and not the second. I mean, with the genetic code, right? I mean, you're just inventing the tRNA that does all of the
well, let me tell you why
intermediary steps.
I'll tell you why I think this fails. Because the only way the genetic code could have originated was if natural selection was acting upon functional proteins. And the problem is the proteins are so unlikely to have originated by natural processes. It's entirely unreasonable to think natural processes could have done it. That was my argument. You can't get the proteins unless natural selection is selecting them for a function. If they don't have a function, they're not going to be selected, and they're going to be just dissolved into nothing. But
Okay,
they can't
so
exist.
I'll give you one example, right? The basically you just need the very simplest protein that is capable of catalyzing peptide bonds. That would create more proteins, right?
No, you need, like I said, if you look at the simplest living organisms, they require.
Wait, how can you say no to that? If you have a protein that can catalyze a peptide bond, that means that you have just created a protein that its function is to create more proteins. I don't see how you can say no to that.
Because they
whoa, hang on. Hey, whoa. Grayson, are you claiming that it's a self-replicating function?
In the amyloid hypothesis, that is the case.
So the glycine that you refer to in that paper is self-replicating?
No, this was a different section of the paper where they discussed the amyloid world hypothesis.
Okay, cool. And in that amyloid world hypothesis, what is self-replicating?
The proteins, like you have an amyloid that's capable of catalyzing a peptide bond.
Right, but it's not self-replicating, correct?
It'd be self-replicating in that it would be catalyzing more reactions that created it. But I would really need to read more.
Okay, cool. So I'm pretty damn sure nobody claims that a 2 or 3 peptide or amino acid chain is self-replicating. Like, I'm pretty damn sure about that.
Yeah, I would need to go look at the specifics for the amyloid.
So a chemical reaction, because nobody claims that amino acids can't bind together. Like, nobody claims that. The whole point is,
well, was just claiming that
you have to get longer chains to be recognized as remotely relevant to
A's philosophy was
Gray. I'm not talking about A. I'm talking about this is why I get so annoyed with people like you, Grayson, is you want to bring up these crazy freaking outliers versus what is actually recognized as what would have to be necessary. So in every abiogenesis paper I've ever read, nobody ever says that we got these 3 amino acids that bonded together. Therefore, this solves the problem of being able to what about the problems they run into when you, we can't really get more than 15 of them to bind together. That's a major problem because we need to get to 50 to be able to have something that actually has a relevant function. I mean, are you claiming that all that stuff is false?
You were cutting in and out, but if you were saying that you need to the very most simple thing that you can even start with is 50 amino acids long, then yeah, I don't think that that's true.
Okay, cool. All right, guys, I'm done for tonight. We've been going for 2 hours. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm not staying up all night. This stuff is so freaking annoying. I can't deal with it. All right, let's say the last words, and I'm going to bed. Whoever wants to go first. Nobody wants to go first? Okay, cool. Then we're done. Great time with everybody. Appreciate it. Once again, another Evo atheist has been proven beyond all doubt to not know what the hell they're talking about. It's astonishing to me. I get told over and over again, I'm clickbait, don't know what I'm talking about, my arguments are false. And then when you actually break it down with the individuals face to face, they don't even understand what the argument was, nor the foundational substance of it, and yet claim that I'm the one who is out to lunch. It's truly fascinating. It proves beyond all doubt that Droid C and AFLPC are actual conditions plaguing the atheist world, and it's truly astonishing. Anyway, folks, hope you have a great night. Appreciate everybody joining. I hope that as you contemplate the pieces of evidence that are are available to you according to the ultimate necessities for your existence, that you will use your brain and come to a logical, plausible, and probable conclusion. Have a good night, everybody.